remember years ago, way back at this point, when Starfield was literally just a trademark Bethesda had. Actually, it was filed way back in 2013, before Fallout 4 even came out, but the mainstream didn't really notice it until a while later. I think it was actually around the time when people started to notice Redfall's trademark as well. I can't believe people immediately jumped to that being Elder Scrolls 6, but I mean, hey, we can't all be winners here. Then after that, there was just silence because, they hadn't really announced it. Till E3 2018, when they finally showed us all the logo and name, and that, yeah, it was in space. Then there was silence again for like 4 years, but that wasn't really their fault now, was it? Then we finally got a little taste, a little tease of what things would look like and what we'd be doing, and our first exposure to Constellation. And now, finally, the game is out, and I have beaten it. This was an adventure in time and space, and I loved almost every second of it. Yeah, the moment I wanted to start stealing ships from pirates, I couldn't find any pirates for like 2 real days in the real world. But anyway, that adventure was to set out into the darkness and find out what's out there. And we found out. We found out. If you couldn't tell, this video is going to spoil literally anything and everything. Starfield's gameplay may have been mostly an evolution of Bethesda-era Fallout, but its story was an Elder Scrolls 1 at heart, starting out simple and leading into the ridiculous, mind-bending, and weirdly spooky. To summarize the plot very briefly and very broadly, you join a legendary space-traveling organization whose reputation has faded into obscurity to the point where most people think you guys don't even exist anymore, despite not being in hiding at all and having your main base be within a major city. And honestly, that part is just really, really believable. You and your gang of archaeologists plus one of their kids, because it's obligatory, go on a hunt for some History Channel ancient aliens-looking-ass artifacts. Through these endeavors, you'll come face-to-face with interdimensional beings, most of which act how you'd expect, and some act like a Star Wars OC.
Take Constellation's artifacts and charts. I can't wait to see what happens next.
These Star Goons want to stop you from finding out the meaning of the artifacts, and unfortunately this will lead to a real unexpected turn of events where one of your companions dies. Like, forever. Bethesda, you got some real balls this time around. Thank God. We are so back. Anyway, after some time, you'll find out that these beings you've been fighting that are trying to stop you and your group, these Starborn, are actually people, no, not aliens, humans, that have reached the truth of the artifact and were transformed into these beings. Oh yeah, and along the way you get the same powers that they have. Some are very useful and others not so much, even if I like the idea. Like, when am I ever going to use this? When will I ever need this? Along with these revelations, you find out that there's another major player in this story, along with the Hunter, that Star Wars OC I mentioned earlier. This Starborn is called the Emissary, and they are revealed to be your dead companion, whichever one died, but not really, because you see the story of Starfield happens countless times in countless different universes, and both the Emissary and the Hunter have done this whole song and dance many times. But this time is different. You didn't die. See, something changed. You always seemed to be the one to die instead of your companion, and now you're a wrench thrown into the order of things, and these guys want you to side with one of them to take the other one out, and then you can be Starborn. Now, the smart thing to do is just say screw both of you and go your own way, which is of course what I did. This leads to some more adventures, but more importantly, one of the best final battles in any Bethesda game ever. Hell, from a pure gameplay standpoint, it is the best final battle. You fight both of them and you're just teleporting throughout like time and space. It's crazy. Then once you win, you can get to talk to yourself, but not really yourself, and either you choose to become Starborn and leave everything behind, or stay in your universe for now. So yeah, I just boiled this plot down to the most bare bones parts of it, even skipping to mention the whole Pilgrim plotline, and that the Hunter is just some priest you meet and always is this priest as far as I know. Unlike the Emissary, who changes depending on which one of your companions dies. And that change is real. It's not just like starting a new game of, I don't know, New Vegas or something, and you choose to go with Mr. House this time instead of the NCR or whatever or what have you. And, of course, that's the canonical ending this time. No, because this game has New Game Plus, and that New Game Plus is canonical, where you can just straight up skip the main story in this new universe and just collect the artifacts and head straight to the final battle, as you are a Starborn now. Each New Game Plus is a new universe that you jump through, because that's what Starborn do. And this New Game Plus can lead to some spooky moments, because none of your companions who are meant to be Starborn are there, though this is only the base game and time will tell. But I don't like the idea of us all being stranded apart, because I just want them to be here, goddammit. Just because we became magical celestial beings doesn't mean we still can't travel as as a crew anymore, come on. On top of that, there are weird things that can happen in New Game Plus. This isn't the same universe anymore, this is a different one, and sometimes things are going to be different in small ways or in big ways. And those big ways can happen because you're just supposed to sort of be able to go through this universe at your leisure. Like I said, you can skip the entire plot basically. So if you don't like what's going on here, just go to another New Game Plus. Like there's instances where all of Constellation can be missing and there are just some weird kids pretending to be them. And that's just creepy. I don't like it. Anyway, that leads me to my big question though. Where the hell is this story and world gonna go? So I'm not crazy, right? Because I just have no idea where this plot could even go. By the end of it, you're like some demigod space god who can travel through the multiverse, and your sheer presence of jumping between universes leaves a weird spiritual imprint on the people who live there. So we've got a DLC lined up already called Shattered Space, and knowing Bethesda's track record with DLC, it's going to meld into the base game so well, 10 years from now, you'll wonder how people ever even played the base game without it. And they're probably going to do this like 2 more times, again pulling from their track record. Now, what is Shattered Space going to be about? Where do we go from here? The name sounds like it'll obviously be more interdimensional shit, but that feels a little too obviously obvious. I mean, when you think about it, what would there even be to do? More Starborn to fight, I guess? Maybe there will be some kind of invasion of a weird Starborn faction? Because the Emissary and the Hunter did mention that some group together and work together with one another, and some just independently fly around in their legume ship. But I have a feeling it'll go completely outside of that, if not with Shattered Space, then with whatever comes after that. Starfield sets up a lot of factions, one of them being the cult of House Va Ruun, a weird celestial serpent death cult. They play a minor role in the story, with Andreja being their biggest thing of note. But in-game, they keep mentioning Va Ruun's hidden city. And guess what? You can't go there. Now, this isn't the Elder Scrolls of Fallout, where we know there's more around us. There's other wastelands, other provinces. No. This map is like the entire world of the game, basically. I mean, they are called the Settled Systems for a reason. This is all humanity knows for the time being. So if this isn't the most obvious setup for a DLC, then I don't know what is. Now, I can't exactly speculate on the fine details of this DLC, but they do leave a lot of wiggle room still. The serpent the cult worships is said to not exactly be a big snake, but more so a massive celestial being. So clearly, I think if we somehow worm our way, likely through Andreja, into the cult city, we'll get a clearer picture of the big snake. Maybe the plot will introduce the serpent as something more tangible. For all we know, these artifacts are not the end-all, be-all of weird magic space things, which is what I'd hope for, because right now it kind of feels like there's not much left to explore. Feels like we've seen all there is to see, which is why I'm so confused on where they could take this series. So hopefully there's more out there that isn't related to the Starborn. While this is a new IP, if you look back at the Elder Scrolls, you can find exactly what I mean, where this universe is just full of beings and gods with their own agendas and own histories. Not everything is tied back to the same source, if you get what I mean. I could easily see something like that for Starfield, just having the Unity and the Starborn being one of many weird magical space mysteries. I wonder though how a DLC would work set largely in enemy territory. I mean, yeah, technically you can be a member of House Va Ruun with a trait, so obviously that would play a part, but for players who don't do that, which I suspect is most, I mean, these guys aren't exactly the most appealing to be a part of, I wonder how you'd get around that. Maybe you'd need Andreja just to vouch for you, till you're given your obligatory companion from the DLC's setting. Now, I could also see Bethesda hitting us with a DLC that's even more outside the scope of the plot, seeing as they did this with Skyrim and Morrowind. While those games would feel incomplete without Blood Moon and Dawnguard now, imagine / remember playing it when they first came out, and you're playing it, and then someone tells you, oh yeah, this big story DLC for Skyrim is going to be about fighting vampires, and now there's also just a bunch of vampires throughout the game, and now the vampires will attack the towns, and etc. It'd sound a little odd after a story just about fighting dragons. I'd say the same for Morrowind. Personally, I wouldn't have expected a werewolf-infested island vacation after all the god slaying, but maybe that's just me. So while we'll probably definitely get a DLC that's more within the scope of the plot, expect them to hit us with a DLC that's about, I don't know, pirates. Maybe they'll really flesh out one of the barren planets that you use just to mine minerals, and the entire thing will take place on there. Or maybe we'll get an entire DLC concerning the elections and corruptions within the United Colonies. That'd be interesting. Or maybe, I hope this doesn't happen, but maybe we'll get Fallout-style DLCs. Now, I love DLCs from Fallout, trust me, I do, but I much prefer the Elder Scrolls ones where it feels like major plot points that are, building on top of the original plot rather than go to this place and do a thing unrelated to anything you were doing in the base game. Except for New Vegas, they sort of retroactively tied all those together, but that's on that. You can never really tell where any of this is going to go from the start, which leads me into my other point. What is Starfield 2 going to look like? Now, this might sound a little odd, a little unnecessary to already go and ask what Starfield 2 is going to look like. I mean, we still need Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5 to come out. Whenever that's going to happen, for the love of God, they need to speed things up, and I don't mean in a crunch way, I mean in a Microsoft give them more money way. Anyway, I understand that we might not even hit a Starfield 2, but Bethesda really, really likes sequels. They really like series, so I think it's pretty much guaranteed that it will happen eventually. Normally, I wouldn't be too preoccupied by what the next game is going to look like right after finishing the current one, because I'd still have a lot more to do. For love of God, I haven't even touched the outpost system because I was too busy fiddling with my ship. But like I said, as far as we know, we've seen all there is to see in this world. The reaches of the settled system are as far as humanity has gone, excluding the ones who become Starborn, of course, and we found out the truth of the Unity, so it begs the question, what is there more to do, especially in a full-blown sequel? Well, the game could take place a few hundred more years after the first one. Humans could have reached even further out into space, especially after Constellation puts out the research paper on the artifacts. But what more is there out there to encounter? Well, there's always aliens, which humanity so far hasn't encountered any aliens besides the non-sentient alien creatures, and within Starfield, it's a big question, like, where the hell are they? Now, how Bethesda would make aliens as much of a deep mystery as the artifacts were, I'm not sure. Maybe they'll have the balls to just go, oh no, it's just about aliens. It's not about some great fabric of the universe defining mystery like the last game. And hey, if they can pull it off, I'd love to see that. Why not? Star Wars loves to tell stories about random Joe Schmoes going about their sci-fi lives, but it would be a hard thing to sell, taking a step down instead of a step up in terms of mystery. Maybe they could just raise the stakes by having these aliens straight up threaten all of humanity's progress that they have made. Maybe they could try really just diving into the mystery more. I mean, why not? At the beginning of the game, there was no sign of the Starborn. There was no indicators that you'd become a weird interdimensional wizard by the end of the game. So who's to say that finding out who created the artifacts and the temples couldn't be a mystery fit for the main story? Because yeah, we don't find out at the end of the story. You can even ask yourself, which really isn't you, but sort of is you, who made them. I'd like to imagine it was in a pretty frustrated tone when you realize you still don't know anything about the artifacts, really. And then you that isn't you just sort of smacks you with a long-winded way of saying, it's complicated, you wouldn't get it, shush. Though I'm not sure how they'd tackle that. Maybe you just start the game as a Starborn already and you still want to get at the greater mystery. Or maybe for a more open route, you work with a Starborn who wants to know more about the, greater multiverse. That sounds cool. No matter what though, they're gonna have to change location. I mean, we can't just do literally this again. Maybe they could do the Arena to Daggerfall route where you just zoom in and focus on a portion of the map that's just really in depth compared to the first version of it. Which sounds like it could be a step down, but to me, that sounds like it could allow for more freedom of movement with your ship, which is always a plus. Anyway, I'm only asking these questions not because I'm unsatisfied with the game and want to move on, but because I already love this thing and I just need to know where it's going. I got into the Elder Scrolls with Skyrim because I was literally like 9 when it came out, so I didn't really have any other options, but there was just so much backlog for the series I could look at. This is new. It's not just a new game, it's not just a new IP, it's a new Bethesda IP. This is a new experience for everyone except for people who played Arena when it first came out, and I just can't help but have my mind wander. And with that, the video is over. Go follow my art social medias for more art, which is actually what I do, and I'm out of here. I'm gonna go play more Starfield if you don't mind.